Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. I have Jessica today. So, Jessica is an podcaster, an American living in India, and a writer and a director of an NGO, marketing director of an NGO. Thank you very, very much, Jessica, for being here. Again, it's a pleasure to talk to you. It's a pleasure to having here and having a conversation about everything. So, again, thank you very, very much. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Lakshit. I'm very glad to be on your show.
It's my pleasure too. It's my pleasure too. So before beginning, Jessica, it would be great if you could take us through your work, take more, detail, introduce yourself and everything about yourself. That would be wonderful.
Sure. So my main work is actually I'm in marketing, in digital marketing. That's been my background for the last 15 years or so. And I specifically then came to India in 2006. I worked in a small IT company in Haridwar, which, as you know, is not a large metropolitan city, and was able to really learn the ropes of living in India and what it's like to live in India as an American, as a foreigner, and as a young professional. So वहाँ पे हिंदी भी सीखी कुछ 4 साल रही वहाँ हरिद्वार में फिर उसके बाद मैं वापस यूएस गए and I had an inkling that it was maybe time to settle down. I didn't know if I wanted to settle in the US or India. I just felt that I needed to think about getting married. So actually just in that time I met Abhishek, who is my now spouse, my husband, and he was studying in the US. We met there and फिर हम लोग की शादी हुई कुछ 1.5 साल बाद and his parents and my parents and everyone where there's a lot of interesting masala in there how that all occurred but eventually we got married in 2010 and after about 6 years of working and living in the US we decided that we wanted to move back to India. Mm-hmm. and we had one child at the time. Abhishek's parents were here in Bihar, and we were able to find a job, transfer here in Bihar, working for an NGO. So we've been working for that NGO now for 6 years, and it's been a wonderful experience. So with that, I wanted to not only tell my story, but also the stories of the people from whom I have learned, mm-hmm. and from whom I have been influenced by in India. So I wanted to also give people the chance to tell their stories, and anyone who's breaking stereotypes, anyone who has an interesting cross-cultural story, anyone who's doing something for the society. That's the kind of people I want to have on my show. And so in 2021, my goal was I'm going to have all people from South Asian background, mm-hmm. on the show as to tell their story, to talk about their craft, their business, their book, whatever it is. So that is part of our goal is to uplift Indian creatives, artists, activists, authors, podcasters, anyone in that sense, and also tell our story. So that's called the Invisible India podcast. Because I want to take the things that are not as obvious and highlight and bring those things up to visibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, Jessica. So, moving forward, how is India treating you? I don't know. I think you would be enjoying in India, but anyway, I think it's a normal question to ask. How is India treating you, and how are you feeling here?
Well, मतलब आजकल तो लॉकडाउन के टाइम में, कोविड के टाइम में बहुत ही मुश्किल हो रहा है. जैसे सबके साथ हो रहा है. It's tough. It's really depressing at times, and especially when I see my family now in the US and all this, it's like things are finished there because everyone has access to the vaccine. Some people are choosing not to take it. That's their own prerogative. But at least if you want to be safe, at least you can. And that's a little bit depressing for me sometimes, to be honest. Apart from that, I think that most of all, अभी तो actually ये बहुत बड़ा सवाल है कि India में कैसे लगता है, कैसे मन लगता है. I feel that India has, in general, has very much welcomed me as a guest and as someone who wants to live long term here and has lived long term here. Uh, I feel very much like मैं यहाँ की बहू हूँ. I feel people treat me very nicely most of the time, especially in my own neighborhood, in my own community. लोग मुझे जानते हैं, बहुत सालों से जानते हैं, और ज़्यादा कोई मतलब कोई परेशान नहीं करते हैं, and people just treat me nicely as they would any other lady. And but you know, of course, there are some things which women are not treated as well in every society. But I think that I'm very thankful to be a guest here and to be have a great life in this place, especially here in Bihar. I have found that people are really amazing. People are very generous and very very resilient. And मुझे यहाँ के लोग बहुत पसंद हैं. सच में. Bihar.
Yeah, wonderful, and just yeah, I think pretty much everybody's mind and every. I think yeah, a lot of the Western countries who are accessible to a lot of stuff, and it has been easy for them to get vaccines and all of that, and you know, as cultures and politics and a lot of factors, it makes difference. And but I'm happy that you're feeling good, you're enjoying in Bihar, you're feeling that you're bahu of this country. That's great. So and how you know, learning Hindi and trying to, you know, when you don't understand the people anywhere around the world, when you go somewhere and you don't understand the language of that place, it becomes hard to, you know, mix up with people. Of course, when cultures like India, where people know English and all of that, but when you go to other countries like European countries where people don't know other language than their own mother tongue, it becomes hard. And have been you know, example for it. I've experienced it myself. so how easy or how hard was it for you to learn Hindi, and how things happened in the initial days when you didn't know the language, not even a bit?
Sure. I think you've asked it in exactly the right way, is that it's not that Hindi itself is an actually difficult language to learn in the basic construct of it. It's about the social dynamics, like you said, because people know English, because was a colonization that occurred here, because also people sometimes shirk away from being proud of their language and culture when foreigners are there or present. People are kind of like, oh, mujhe aapse seekhna, aap mujhe English sikhaiye. Like, I want to learn about India. You know, that was the attitude which I've had to embrace. And I think some people were disappointed that I wasn't going to be the Angrezi madam who came and they could all attach to me and kind of, you know, get a visa to go to US and all this. I can't tell you how many times people have asked me, aapka koi connection hai, aap visa banwa sakte hain mera. I was like, it doesn't work that way in a Western country, yaar. Yahan chalta hai, connection se chalta hai. Wahan kuch nahi, line mein lago, fill the paperwork and see you get your chance. That's how it works, even for me, even for everyone, you know, but people don't understand. I digress. Hindi. In learning Hindi, I think the challenging part is that showing that I'm very serious about this, and that I'm very like मैं हिंदी को इस्तेमाल नहीं कर रही हूँ. मैं पूरा संस्कृति को जानना चाहती हूँ. मैं like, I think that's the thing, is I don't just want to learn Hindi so that I can manipulate and get what I want out of my life. I think there's a difference. And if people see that that's why you're learning, then people will not be as willing to participate and help you. They want to see that you're invested, that you don't have any agenda, that you are genuine and you want to know about them. That's why you want to learn. And so I think if you have that attitude, it goes much easier. Not because it's difficult, but because the social dynamics of learning any South Asian language as a foreigner, I would say that's the challenge. So मेरे लिए तो आसान नहीं कह सकती हूँ, पर मैं काफी young थी, मतलब I was in my 20s at that time, and I came to India, and I was just constantly spending time with people. मैं लोगों के बीच में रही, और ऑफिस जाती थी तो हिंदी में बात करने की कोशिश करती थी, and I would actually not call my parents in the US for, once a month I would call them on the STD or ISD, the thing, and call and say, I'm okay, it's fine, all this is going on, but I really tried to isolate myself from English. And Bangalore, Mumbai mein wo nahi chalega. It's not possible. But Haridwar mein, you can do that.
Yeah.
You can find people who do not know English, and even यहाँ बिहार में भी आप easily आप हिंदी बोलने वाले ही बीच में रह सकते हैं who don't know English. It's a good thing. And so I just was totally immersed, and that's basically how I learned. I did have a tutor who helped me, and I did an immersion program. And फिर practice करते करते I continued to learn and keep it up and continue to go forward in learning other dialects and things of that as well.
And and when you was trying to learn, what were those phases of the language learning or language understanding, when you're like very getting angry, like what language is it, I'm just getting head off and all of them, I'm tired of this, and I don't want to learn, I'm done, and all of that comes up, and then you're like, oh, let's go, I have to learn it anyway, and all of that. So how were those phases for you in learning the language?
Yeah, इसके ऊपर हम पूरा एपिसोड ही बना सकते हैं, but I'm going to keep it short. I actually am a bit of a language nerd. So if anyone wants to see, I have a few episodes on this on my podcast about like the breakdown of the language learning process for Hindi and other South Asian languages. So मेरा YouTube पे हैं videos, how to learn Hindi, how I learned Hindi, the breakdown of that. So I would say that the first phase for the way that I prefer to learn language is about listening.
Mm-hmm.
First, your ear has to become attuned to the sound. And this is why it's so easy for someone who is from, Bangalore, who speaks Kannada, moves to Delhi and learns Hindi. Because आप actually सुनते रहते हैं, Bollywood सुनते हैं, गाना सुनते हैं, and it's in your mind. You might not know the language, but you've heard it your whole life. जैसे मेरे जैसे लोगों के लिए बहुत मुश्किल होता है क्योंकि हम कभी हिंदी सुने ही नहीं. So that's not in your mind. That's not in your neural pathways at all. Is the ability to catch that. So there's the first phase of listening, always listening, and just inundating your mind. You don't know what it's saying, but your ear has to catch that sound. Then there's the process of actually trying to replicate the sound. It's, actually trying to speak it out. You might not know what it is, but you have to try anyway. So for example, I would give like a little frozen phrase, what we called it. And they would say, okay, Jessica, this is your assignment. You have to go out today and you have to say, aap kaise hain, to 10 people. Shop owner, the taxi wala, jo bhi. This is your practice. Aap kaise hain, go and see what, and then you have to see what's their response. You don't know what they're going to say afterwards. You're not going to have any response, but just aap jaake pooch lo. And so you have to like force yourself to try. And this works so beautifully in India because people are so gracious and so generous, and they let you practice your ekdam tutti frutti Hindi, and you can practice it, and people are so patient. America mein aap jaoge aur English acha nahi hote hain, so people be like, or in France, I'm sure you had experience in France, like tum hat ja yaar, just chup hat jaiye, India is not like that. People are so generous. They're so patient with you with the, learning process. So, there's that. And then of course, learning the more proper like grammar and how to construct a sentence, all that occurs. And then reading and writing, of course, is very important. It's for learning the proper pronunciation of for Hindi, of course, Devanagari. That's very, very key. So I would say that that process, and then there's the maintenance process and growing further. So in Chicago, when I went back, I lived in a primarily Muslim community. So, and mostly Indians, Pakistanis. And so I was able to understand more Urdu. I went from Haridwar to like, like more like Indian and Pakistani community. तो वहाँ रहते रहते वो भी सीखे थोड़ा सा जिससे लोग बात करते हैं उर्दू में तो वो भी सीखे. And so there's just all these things you go through and trying to pick up different language tidbits. Of course Bihari Hindi बहुत ही अलग है standard Hindi से दिल्ली वाली Hindi से बहुत ही अलग है. तो वो भी सीखने में बहुत टाइम लगा. अभी भी सीख रही हूँ. अलग अलग भाषा यहाँ चलता है. Of course Maghai is very popular here. It's very central. Methli, Bhojpuri. My mother-in-law and her side, they all speak Angika. These are all, especially these smaller groups. These are I wouldn't say dying languages, but they're at risk. So I'm trying to learn this so that I can pass it on to my own kids, and so that we can preserve these languages.
Beautiful. That's really beautiful. I'm really happy to hear that. See, myself, I don't know my mother tongue. See, I just speak and I have that conversations. But if you tell me to go into deep conversations, I can't. I don't get the words. Pretty much when my sisters and my mother, they talk, my parents, when they talk, I never understand them properly because there are a lot of deep words and a lot of different words. And there is, I think, the problem of the both sides, from my side also, of not being interested in learning it, and from my parents' sides because they didn't teach me it too. So it's a 50-50 of both the sides. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the thing. And what you're trying to learn a language which is, and that's beautiful. I'm just really impressed by that idea of learning a language which is kind of risk, and I understand that. And so yeah, so Jessica, just some more questions I would like to ask you is, what were your cultural shocks when you came? When you came to Haridwar, it's a very small town. You said it's not a very, very big metropolitan city. And when you come from Chicago and you just land in India in Haridwar, what were some cultural shocks for you?
The first cultural shocks for anyone that's not lived in a place like India are going to be the initial aesthetic shocks. Of course, colors and traffic and bheed, आवाज, horn बजता रहता है, मारता रहते हैं लोग. और मंदिर in हरिद्वार मंदिर की घंटी बजती रहती है सारा दिन, ओम ओम करते रहते हैं लोग. So that's a lot of adjustment. Even though I was living in a city, that makes it easier to adjust from a city in US to a city like in I wouldn't even call Haridwar is now a city, but it wasn't 15 years ago. Those are the initial things, gai, gobar, kachra, pani. You have to just get over that shock. Now I would say that sometimes it still gets shocked at times.
Okay.
And it's not like the initial things. These are different. Now, sometimes I would say the patriarchy sometimes catches me very off guard. The way women are treated in general.
Yeah.
It can be very shocking to me. Like, this is it's not something that I've fully internalized, nor do I think I ever will as a Westerner, because my husband's family is very accepting of me, and ठीक है तुमको गाड़ी चलाना है तो बच्चे को लेके उधर चलाओ, ठीक है कोई बात नहीं, अगर ये पहनना है ठीक है, तो just within some limitations, ये करना तो ठीक है, ये करना तो अच्छा ठीक है, just they're more open with me. They're very traditional, but they understand me and they understand that मैं 365 24/7 घर में नहीं रह सकती हूँ. They understand that. And so, but sometimes the general public shocks me.
Okay.
uh, and I feel even with the way that I've lived for about 15 years on and off, sometimes it still hits me in the face. Like, wow, I can't believe women are okay with this and some aren't. But then just how the society functions and expects women's roles to be this
Yeah.
small,
Mm.
that to me can be very abrasive at times.
And how do you deal with this?
Well, I mean, it's of course it brings up anger within, and a sense of justice. Like, I wish other women had the opportunities that I've had in my country, to have a job, to do more studies, to get married later, to have children later. But then I realized that it doesn't have to be exactly the same. Indian women sometimes don't, in general, I'm not saying, sometimes don't want to have all the things which I want. And some people are content with बस मुझे बच्चा चाहिए, मुझे घर चाहिए, मुझे कपड़ा चाहिए, सोना चाहिए, और security चाहिए, और कुछ नहीं. Bas, they're content. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to force my feminism upon you.
Yeah.
Or my dreams upon you of what I want for you. You don't want that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
If that's what you're content, then that's fine. But the women who do want that and are not getting it and not getting any opportunity, it makes me feel sad at times. And I also realized that if I was living in the US, I would be having different career path, and मेरा टाइम ज़्यादा यहाँ बच्चों के साथ है, और अपने मैं multinational company में नहीं काम करती हूँ. I'm working with my husband, and we have a lot of family responsibilities, and that comes first for me. And that's what you get when you decide you want to get married to someone who has family has high expectation of family value, and society doesn't necessarily support both parents working. At least in Bihar, it's like किसी को घर पे रहना बहुत जरूरी है. You have to have somebody at home all the time. It's the way society is here. So there's a long diatribe there that I just went on, but that's how I deal with it. I'm coping in different ways, and just I try to do my own little projects which make me feel satisfied in my own career and life, but also settled in that how it is. I'm in India, so this is how I am living.
Yeah, totally. And I think you also gave me a deep thought of thinking of these things and how things work. Yeah, totally. You did. You did. So, some more last few questions I would like to ask you, Jessica, is what is one of your favorite movies in Bhojpuri, Hindi, or in any language you learn or understand? Yeah.
Bhojpuri film तो मैं नहीं देखती हूँ ज़्यादा. Mostly because to be honest, I don't like the sound of the auto-tune songs.
Yeah.
I don't like the hokey नाच गाना वाला movie. वो तो मुझे बिल्कुल नहीं पसंद. और अभिषेक को भी नहीं पसंद है, और मेरे मतलब सास ससुर को भी नहीं पसंद है. कोई नहीं देखते हैं हम लोग के घर में. हम लोग नहीं देखते ज़्यादा. सच में मैं फिल्म और टीवी बहुत कम देखती हूँ, बहुत कम. जैसे हम लोग मूवी देखते हैं साल में मे बी 4 बार, बहुत कम. बिकॉज बच्चों का फिल्म तो बच्चे लोग मोबाइल पे देखते हैं, टीवी पे देखते हैं, पर हम लोग बहुत कम देखते हैं. I like art movies, Bollywood art film.
Mhm.
जैसे कोई social issue को लेके film बनाते हैं.
Hmm.
Um, and I've enjoyed those kind of films which talk about preserving nature or increasing women's rights
Hmm.
or uh, education reform, those kind of things. Like Three Idiots, you know, वो education reform के ऊपर है. और क्या था राजी, वो तो ladies थोड़ा
Hmm.
सा वो एक heroine का
Hmm.
story बनाया.
Huh.
I like those kind of movies, the heroines. Uh, so I would say हाँ Three Idiots बहुत अच्छा था. And mostly that's it. I haven't seen any for a long time. हम लोग
That's
बहुत कम देखते हैं. I'm sorry to be so disappointing. हम
no, no,
लोग तो
it's not at all disappointing.
बहुत busy रहते
It's
हैं.
yeah, and
रात में हम लोग जल्दी
so जाते हैं,
नहीं
yeah,
देखते हैं.
yeah,
We have meetings, you know, we have meeting almost every night nowadays. So Abhishek ka meeting kabhi chalta hai, mera meeting chalta hai because of the time difference
hmm.
from US to India. So Hollywood film kabhi kabhi dekhte hain, but wo bhi bahut kam.
And do you miss seeing films? Do you miss seeing films, or are you okay with it?
I've never really watched films that much. Even in US, I don't.
Okay, okay, so
Yeah,
it's not something
I
which
read a
makes
lot.
you
हाँ, book पढ़ती हूँ, podcast सुनती हूँ, and yeah, I like books and podcasts are my preferred medium of entertainment.
oh yeah, I think that's better kind of entertainment than watching any kind of movies or something. And I appreciate, and yeah, it depends on how everybody thinks and takes. And I think you're on same lines. I won't even spend much time watching movies and all of that.
Huh.
Sometimes I do. I'm human. Sometimes I
Yeah.
just go here and there and just start and watch something, but not really a fan of any
Yeah.
Bollywood
हाँ,
movies or
बिल्कुल.
anything now anymore. Happy about podcasting, happy about doing my stuff, and yeah, so pretty much on the same lines we stand. Yep. So yeah, so what would be anything you think I missed? Would you like to talk about anything you want to cover up here, or any message you would like to leave here to the audience listening to this?
So I would say that for the young crowd in India, uh, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, I think that we have to try to get out of the box. And you're in a wonderful place for that in Bangalore. Uh, यहाँ पे लोग सरकारी नौकरी के पीछे भाग भाग के दिमाग खराब कर रहे हैं अपने आप का. It's just sad because we have such a need for someone doing something different, right? You're doing a podcast. This is something which is different, which is using creative skills. And I think other people should consider that there are many other types of job besides just IT and data entry and call center and all that.
Doctors.
There are so many things, doctor, engineer, ho, jo bhi, you know, which is good. That's a good thing to do. But there are many different kinds of things you can do in the new India, right? We're here now, that you can earn and you can do something respectable, that you're learning something new every day and creating something different. And that's what I would encourage people to do, and especially if it's helping society. So you know, we moved back from the my husband was working in IT in higher education. I was also in marketing and digital marketing. You know, we moved from the US and we came here, and we have an NGO here. So that was a big risk, but we're seeing that, you know, are we earning as much as we were there? Obviously, no, but that wasn't the goal. The goal was we wanted to do something fulfilling in our life, and and do something that was interesting and fed the gifts which we had inside. So I know many of you must have things which you want to do in your life. And I would say पैसे के पीछे मत भागो, and लोग क्या कहेंगे आप ज़्यादा सोचना भी नहीं. And that's easy to say that you know, of course you have to make a living, but don't let your dreams die because of other people. And because of the sphere of I'm not going to have security or log kya kahenge and all this. I think you should try something new, and if you fail, then you're going to fail. Just try something, and if you fail, just do something else. And that's one thing, it's very upsetting to me. अगर कोई गिरता है, अगर कोई फेल करते हैं तो लोग हंसी उड़ाते हैं, मजाक बनाते हैं. Like why? Because आपका बेटा बैठे बैठे सारे दिन टीवी देखते हैं, सरकारी जॉब का एग्जाम दिया है और अभी 3 साल बाद कुछ हुआ नहीं. तो so other people are trying to do something and you're going to laugh at them. That's rubbish, right?
Yeah.
So I think we have to keep trying, and whatever people are going to say, let them say, but you should follow what you want, and you're a great example of that.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Lakshit.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Again, it was a pleasure to talk to you. It was a pleasure. You gave a lot of things to think on, a lot of things to speak about, and just get in deep and think about them. Thank you very, very much for being here. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It has also been a pleasure. You have a great show, and I'm enjoying talking to you as well and getting to converse. Yeah, good interview style.
My pleasure.
So
thank you very much.
Keep it up, Lakshit.
Thank you very much.